Hello everyone. We are going to go ahead and get started now. My name is Mike Gross. I'd like to welcome all of you here today. I'd also like to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule to learn more about business intelligence and also the latest addition to our product family, which is called Accellos One Pulse. I hope this webcast is beneficial for you from an educational standpoint, and we certainly appreciate the opportunity to discuss other areas that vSync Accellos can bring value to your organization. I'd like to announce a few webinar logistical items first before we get started. First off, the lines will be muted throughout the webcast. We will have the floor opened up for questions at the end of our webcast, but throughout the session you can type in any questions that you have in the chat bar. That'll be available in the bottom right hand corner of your screen. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. So you're probably here today because you've heard a good deal about business intelligence, or BI, and you've probably seen some solutions or heard about many solutions that are available on the market today. BI has been around for many years actually, but there's been a great deal of buzz around BI in the past 5-6 years. I wanted to share a quote here with you from Aberdeen. And if you're not familiar with Aberdeen, they are a widely respected research and analysis firm specifically for IT products and companies. Aberdeen has published several reports actually on the benefits and the impact of BI. And a recent report they published was focused on the benefits of BI not only for enterprise companies but now more for small to medium-sized businesses. And Aberdeen found in the study that most organizations have now realized the danger of relying too much on the gut feel decision-making process when it comes to critical business decisions and even day-to-day operational decisions. So as a result, companies are increasingly turning to BI tools to provide fact-based insight as really the key underpinning of their decision-making process versus that gut feel reactionary mode. So Aberdeen's quote is effectively stating that BI is not just a fad, and based on empirical research results, BI solutions have delivered positive and quantifiable results for organizations of each and every size. And as you're probably aware, delivering timely and accurate information is a key to success in supply chain management. And I felt that this quote here from Aberdeen was additive to our conversation, especially since most of you here today are involved in supply chain operations, which, as we're all aware, has a major impact on bottom line profitability. KPIs, or key performance indicators, are operational and strategic level metrics that are defined, communicated, and ultimately measured to help organizations control their operations and pursue their corporate goals and objectives. I wanted to spend a few minutes here just discussing why it's important to define and measure key performance indicators and why they have a positive impact on business performance. First off, what we've found based on empirical studies is that just simply by defining key metrics for your business and monitoring those metrics, they seem to unify a company to work towards a shared goal. Another reason to define and measure KPIs is simply put, you can't manage what you don't measure. And there seems to be some truth behind that statement. It just seems to be very difficult to seek opportunities for operational performances, and it's ultimately difficult to determine how effective your organization is if you're not measuring the results of your operation. KPIs also provide management with a tangible metric to use to guide their departments and ultimately to maintain alignment with corporate goals and objectives. And what's been found is that organizations and managers, for that matter, they tend to outperform their peers, again, simply by measuring the results of their operations. So KPIs are typically focused on financial results, employee performance, customer satisfaction, vendor performance, and ultimately supply chain operations. Again, focusing on KPIs, organizations are making an intentional effort to understand what's critical to successful business results. And as a result, tighter relationships are developed with key supply chain partners. And finally, I just wanted to note, behind the human psyche is the desire to gain recognition and ultimately to be a part of a success. employees they want their organization to succeed, and defining KPIs and empowering them with the ability to not only measure their operational results, but also provide them with the tools to seek opportunities to improve. That's absolutely a key to bottom line performance. Before I introduce the Pulse product, I wanted to spend just a moment discussing the order to cash cycle and the EDI business documents that are used to facilitate the movement of goods throughout your supply chain. The order to cash process loop for an EDI customer typically includes the following EDI transactions. First, an EDI purchase order is received, and commonly a purchase order acknowledgement is then returned back to your customer. Product is picked from your warehouse, packed, and then shipped to your customer's store, a distribution center, or maybe even direct to a consumer's home as part of a drop ship or direct ship vendor agreement. When the product is shipped, an advance ship notice is sent, followed by an invoice, and often an electronic remittance transaction, remittance device, or an H20, is returned by your customer to itemize the invoices and adjustments for a payment. So what is Pulse? Pulse is a web-based dashboard and reporting tool that delivers the real-time status of KPIs. Accellos has built KPIs specifically for our core business applications, including our warehouse management, transportation management, third-party logistics, shipping, and now the vSync EDI product. Our core vision when we started this product 2 years back was to provide a cost-effective and rich visibility tool to present KPI data for our core supply chain applications, and also provide a tool that can be leveraged across other functions in your business beyond just the Accellos applications. Okay, so before I show you some specific examples of some KPIs, I wanted to spend just a moment to familiarize you with the look and feel and the operations of Pulse. So I've logged in with my user account using Internet Explorer. I can also log in using Firefox, Safari, or Chrome. And once I log in, my user-specific dashboard will load. A user, when they log in, can configure their own dashboard. They can add or remove these KPI panels to their dashboard. And the way that I've set this up for demonstration purposes is I've got a dashboard set up for different roles in my organization. So for different departments, I've got one set up that's more of a customer service dashboard, a logistics, and also an accounts receivable. And behind each KPI, there is permissions that can be assigned on a user or on a role basis. So you can assign a KPI to a specific role, so that way management or accounting personnel can only view financial type KPIs. So once I've logged in again, I can make modifications to my KPIs. I can move the KPIs around in whatever order I like on my dashboard and save those dashboards, so when I log in again, I'll have the same look and feel. The KPIs I'm going to show you today that are specific to EDI are really focused on the order to cash cycle, so I wanted to focus on that today. And these KPIs are designed, again, to provide greater visibility to your organization throughout the enterprise on the status of critical transactions as they flow throughout the order to cash cycle. So from a presentation standpoint, we can configure a KPI panel to display information in a chart, in a gauge, or also in a grid. And the ideal is to empower the end user to present information that ultimately they can consume in the easiest fashion. As far as modifying the panel settings, I'm going to go into an example here. Again, this is a chart. We can define one of many different chart options. In this case, I've elected to use a bar chart, but we can pick from many different options, including a line or a pie chart. We can also define our refresh rate if we want that to display, again, in a grid, chart, or a gauge. And then we can also define filters, which before the information is even loaded to the screen, we can determine what information to present. In this case, I've defined a date filter. I can also define a filter if I have multiple companies set up to do EDI processing. And of course, we can configure other filters above and beyond those two. So for a grid, once I have information, I can actually I can export these results out to Excel, Word, CSV, HTML formats. so I can do further analysis, or I can send that information externally. I can also expand and collapse these KPIs. Again, I can move these around in whatever fashion I'd like. And the final thing I'll point out is that we can also operate Pulse in a full screen mode, so that expands the view of the individual KPIs. Okay, so I've backed out of full screen mode here, and I'm going to guide our conversation back to the order to cash cycle and all the EDI transactions that help facilitate the movement of goods throughout the supply chain processes. So the beginning of this cycle begins with the receipt of an inbound EDI purchase order. Your customers will send one through either their van network, or they'll send purchase orders through a direct connection such as AS2 or FTP. Once a transaction is received successfully into Gentran, that transaction and its status will become immediately available inside of Pulse. So this particular KPI is displaying all the current active EDI purchase order transactions for my EDI sales channel. I've set a filter here to only show me Walmart purchase order transactions, and I've sorted by processing status. I can also group by processing status, and inside of this KPI there's intelligence that will define at what point in the workflow this transaction is. So it starts at the receiving process, then we will have an exported status when we've exported from the Gentran translator. Then we're going to go through either partially fulfilled, or just an ERP order if we have not fulfilled that transaction. So throughout the enterprise, I can drill into the specific status of a transaction through the web browser here. I can see that this specific PO was created as a sales transaction. Here's my ERP sales order number. The inventory status, it has been fulfilled. I received the purchase order on this date. It loaded into the ERP system. My requested ship date is X, and it's a production ready transaction. From the results that are returned from a KPI, we can drill down into the status of a specific transaction by looking that document up using the filter option. So I can select a unique document, or I can do a search using one of many different search options available. We can also change the filter settings at a high level to basically determine which results are returned for that KPI. So in this case, I've got two filter options available: which company and a date range. So I can narrow my search down to just show me all transactions for this month, this week, or just today. So some examples of how this particular KPI brings value is more around visibility. So anyone throughout the enterprise can look up a specific transaction and determine the status. A sales rep can look up the status of a critical EDI order, determine not only it was received, but also has that order been processed into Great Plains, has that order been fulfilled. Customer service is also armed with the ability to view the status of a transaction and field an inquiry for a customer. And regardless of who owns processing EDI, there's visibility to that status of a transaction and more accountability throughout the enterprise to ensure transactions are being processed successfully in a timely fashion. Tracking down the status of a particular transaction is also very simple, as well as looking at a broad range of documents. There's many different sorting and grouping functions to help you slice and dice data without, again, requiring IT administration to help build particular reports. So let's go ahead and transition our conversation over to the next document in the order to cash processing cycle.